I want to provide a correction to this course in which on the political expediencies, for the political reasonings, for taking away the incumbent governments, they have made decisions. So today, if there is a case in front of me, I think it is a justiciable position. पे फैसला इंसाफ पर मबनी होना चाहिए। तो जहां तक इस चीज का ताल्लुक है कि स्पीकर का कंडक्ट क्या होगा, तो जो राउडी होंगे, वल्गर होंगे, जिनके खिलाफ खवातीन अरकान इस हाउस की हरासमेंट की दरख्वास्तें देंगी, जिनके खिलाफ मैं अपनी आंखों से देखूंगा कि वो फहश इशारे कर रहे होंगे, जो असेंबली के अंदर खड़े होकर गालियां दे रहे होंगे, उनको सस्पेंड करना मुझे रूल्स परमिट करते हैं। उसके लिए मुझे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। आई एम गोइंग टूवर्ड्स कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, टूवर्ड्स आर्टिकल 63(2). सो 63(2) सेज once the question has arisen, that कल से पनामा केस की जजमेंट का हवाला देकर बात कर रहा हूं, मैं बार बार कह रहा हूं, there couldn't be a worst time in history of Supreme Court when these judgments were passed. These were very bad judgments. But they were one political party's position for good long 5-6 years. I have got no case against anyone. अगर मेरा किरदार किसी ने जांचना है बतौर स्पीकर, तो जब मैं चेयर पर बैठा हूं तो I am under oath. I have given more time to opposition. I have given them those standing committees which were historically never given to the oppositions. I am witness to it. I was on the left-hand benches. There were no standing committees at all. Half of the assembly was not at work. There was no in that when we were sitting there. So Parvez Saab was speaker, and there were 6 select committees. It's a matter of record. There was no amendment in any bill taken by the opposition members, and was always just like ordered by the speaker for one reason or another. We were even given the floor for the cut motions. What to talk of democratic norms by anyone? I had witnessed it. On the very first day when I came and sat as a speaker, I gave all accountability rights, and I made the opposition leader accountability czar of this province. I announced that he is the chairman Public Accounts Committee 1, which was not there from last so many assemblies. This is my conduct as a speaker. Out of 100 minutes, I have given them 67 minutes to speak on the floor. मैंने एक भी आइन के अंदर, ये सॉरी कानून के अंदर, एक भी जगह पर अदर देन वन बिल मैंने रूल्स को सस्पेंड कर नहीं किया। हर में मैंने उनकी ऑपोजिशन की, आई हैड इंश्योर्ड कि उनकी अमेंडमेंट्स आए, वो अपनी बात करें। मेरे पास पिछले दिनों एक बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट गवर्नमेंट का एजेंडा था विच दे वांटेड कि आज ही पास हो जाए। गवर्नमेंट का राइट है, वो मेजॉरिटी पार्टी है, उनकी कोई अर्जेंसी हो सकती है, बट आई सेड इट वोंट हैपन लाइक दिस वे। क्यों मैंने ये कहा? मेरे पास आफ्ताब साहब तशरीफ लाए, उन्होंने कहा कि हमने बड़ी मेहनत की है, वी आर ऑपोजिशन। तो आई सेड दैट आई विल इंश्योर दैट गवर्नमेंट should have their way as majority party, and opposition should have their say as minority party. सवाल उठा दिया कि जी 45-47 का बड़ा झगड़ा। मैंने कहा आप ख्याल करें, मैं तो नॉन पार्टी हूं। आफ्टर बिकमिंग स्पीकर आई डोंट हैव राइट, आई लूज दैट राइट, and willfully I have lost that right once I have accepted to be the speaker. So don't please compel me to come out with the straight facts. जब आपने कोई कलेक्टिव ओपिनियन बनाना है तो जरूरी है कि वो कलेक्टिव ओपिनियन आपका बेस्ड अपॉन इंडिविजुअल कंप्लेंट्स हो। ये एक रीजनेबल टेस्ट है। ये दुनिया की किसी भी फैसला करने वाली बॉडी का रीजनेबल टेस्ट है कि आपके पास एक इंडिविजुअल कंप्लेंट्स का मजमुआ होगा, तब वो मजमुई तौर पर एक बयानिया तश्कील पा जाए। Out of 371, there are just 37 complaints, and out of those 37, 12 are against those who are shouting of 45 and 47. Then what to decide and what not to decide? मैंने कहा ये तो हुकूमत का काम बात करे, मेरा मसला नहीं है, लेकिन आई एम पुटिंग द रेकॉर्ड स्ट्रेट कि जिस बुनियाद पर आप इस हाउस की पूरी कार्रवाई को सस्पेंड करते हैं, It makes no sense. Taking, let's say, Mr. Saif is sitting here, somebody comes into this house and इनके वालिद साहब का नाम लेकर उनके ऊपर वो कह दें कि जी ये मरियम के पापा चोर हैं, वो दूसरा है वो कह जी ये टेरियन के पापा चोर हैं. कम ऑन, ऐसा तो अब बच्चे स्कूल्स के अंदर नहीं होता. हाउ कैन यू अलाउ दैट? हाउ कैन यू अलाउ दिस नॉनसेंस कि आप एक लोगों की डिग्निटी को वायलेट करें? अगर कोई एक एब्सोल्यूट फंडामेंटल राइट है तो एब्सोल्यूट फंडामेंटल राइट सिर्फ डिग्निटी ऑफ मैन है. मैंने इनसे कहा कि मैंने खुद एक्सपीरियंस किया है, मेरे सामने है. जब ये मुझे आप मजबूर ना करें कि मैं पॉलिटिकल पोजीशंस को लूं, अलाउ मी टू स्पीक एज अ स्पीकर प्लीज. मैंने बार बार इनसे इस्तेमाल किया, लेकिन फॉर द करेक्टनेस ऑफ रिकॉर्ड अब मैं आपसे जो आपके एकेडमिक सिलसिले में बात में आपसे मैंने शुरू की थी, एंड आई वाज आस्क्ड बाय द मीडिया टू मेक दैट स्टेटमेंट. बड़ी अच्छी बात है अगर ये हुकूमत और ऑपोजिशन बैठे, मैं इनको बिठाने को तैयार हूं. मैं इनके साथ बैठ के इस जमहूरियत के घर ने कैसे चलना है इस पर बात करने को तैयार हूं. मैं इसकी कोई हदूद, आज मुझे बताया गया कि लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है कि हम बैठने को तैयार हैं, हम हुकूमत के साथ नहीं बैठेंगे, स्पीकर के साथ बैठेंगे. ठीक है, मैं गवर्नमेंट को भी बारहा कहता हूँ, ये आपकी जो बिजनेस एडवाइजरी कमेटी होती है, उसका फंक्शन ही सिर्फ ये होता है कि गवर्नमेंट और ऑपोजिशन आपस में बैठ के कुछ चीज़ों को करे. तो मैंने तो भी ये जो फैसला करना है इसमें तो भी 25-26 दिन है. मैं तो आई विल टेक इट ऑन अ काउंट डाउन. अभी तो 25 दिन पीछे हैं. मैं तो भी सोच रहा हूँ, देख रहा हूँ, कवानीन पढ़ रहा हूँ, वो फैसले पढ़ रहा हूँ, साकिब निसार साहब के फैसले पढ़ रहा हूँ, उमर अता बंदयाल साहब के फैसले पढ़ रहा हूँ, इजाजुल एहसन साहब के फैसले पढ़ रहा हूँ. मेरे पास वो फैसलों की लंबी तफसील है जिनके अंदर पूरी पूरी हुकूमतों को गिराया गया है, डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन की बुनियाद पर एक जमात को खड़ा किया. तो मैं देख रहा हूँ कि किस हद तक इन फैसलों से मैं क्या देख सकता हूँ. इवन दो आई थिंक दोज आर नॉट गुड जजमेंट्स, आई कैन जस्ट गिव द डिटेल ऑफ दोज जजमेंट्स. अब आ गए हाउस की कारकर्दगी पे और इसके काम. I am sure that Osama Saab and Ahmed Saab would have actually given you the best of their जो भी जब ये communicate करते हैं तो बड़ा ably करते हैं. They are very good communicators and they tell the story very well. But the story of this democracy, this project of democracy, it starts from fairly speaking from the 90s. It begins with the Council of the Lieutenant Governor. That was a nominated council. Then it travels. Then it becomes the Legislative Council. Then it travels. Then the Morley reforms, you're all student of that. Then it travels. Then it travels to the 1935 Government of India Act. And from a Legislative Council, those Legislative Councils were abolished in 1910, 15, 20. And these shape of assemblies came out. They were based upon similar to the Westminster model, in which executive was made responsible to the House, where ministerial responsibility was the basic function of that. So where passing of the budget, which is marred from last 22 years, I couldn't see that. I have seen the ministers not answering rightly as being opposition benches and as being speaker and as being part of the cabinet. Seen ministers just making fiery political speeches, not giving the right context of answerability to the constituents of which representative made a question. So the procedure of a legislative council was altogether different from what these assemblies have. Legislative council had just one function, and that function was primarily legislation. And they had the Council of the Lieutenant Governor had a capacity of advisory also. And once we became an assembly, so there were new 4 parliamentary tools brought into a question hour. A question hour means that a member raises a question and minister gives an answer. This is part of his ministerial responsibility towards the House. And the role of the speaker is to receive those questions to regulate the question hour, to tell the government to give an answer, and allow the member to raise that question. So this is how the government gets answerable, and this is how the speaker navigates that. So it is under a certain rules. It is written in the rules that how the question will be raised. The member shall do certain things in a manner which are binding upon. There are other tools which is like calling attention notices, there are adjournment motions, there are zero hour. We have also brought in new rules in which we say the matter of public importance, a member can just raise a point at the end of the session if there is something of a very grave urgency, so he can bring it in. And speaker regulates the whole thing. Speaker allows the time, speaker asks the member to sit down, speaker asks the member to stand up, and this is how the speaker does it. And it is all in the book. Election of the speaker is there. Every single word is mandated. It has to be acted as it is written in the book. But normally while we are doing those things, because as I have already said, these are not dead houses, so voices get loud in it. But in normal course of day, loud voices are tolerated. It is considered to be a very acceptable parliamentary practice, but willful obstructions are not parliamentary practices. They are malpractices. Malpractices could not be allowed in any system. If somebody does it with an objective of stopping the lawful proceeding, so it is not allowed. If protest is equated to stop the proceeding of the House, that is not allowed. Protest should be registered. If I am making a speech and somebody says that he is not saying right things, he is not connecting with the reality, or he says that he is not politically correct, or he has some problem in this, yes, he can stand up and he can say, no, this is not right, and then they can make some noises, then they can thump their desks, they can do certain things which are in the parliamentary norms. But where is it fair to attack the women? Where is it fair to attack the finance minister? Where it is fair once you start abusing other members? Once you start ganging up with 5-10 people and start hitting other people? तो कल को तो कोई बंदूक उठा के आएगा, जैसे जॉर्डन की असेंबली में कोई गया और राइफल निकाल के किसी गोली में, क्या करेंगे फिर? तो इसका जो स्पीकर फंक्शंस में कुछ ऐसे फंक्शंस भी हैं जो other than these conducts of the houses and conducts of the different executive positions, एक secretariat type भी है, फिर जैसे कि PDU भी हमने रखा हुआ है, फिर there are committees, so it's a lot of work. So there are different chapters for that, and I hope Osama Saab might have given you the details. तो मेरा सिर्फ ये कहना था कि 3 मिस नॉर्म्स आपने अपने ज़हन से निकाली. प्राइमरी और फोरमोस्ट ड्यूटी जो अपनी इस पार्लियामेंट्री ट्रेनिंग से सीखना है, उसमें मेरी आपसे ये बड़ी इंसिस्टेंस पे मैं आपके सामने ये एक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू रखूंगा. ए, पॉलिटिकल इंटरफेरेंस एंड पार्लियामेंट्री ओवरसाइट, इन दो चीजों के दरमियान आपने फर्क निकालना है. एंड वेयर दिस लाइन हैज टू बी. In the garb of parliamentary oversight, political interference is a sin. And to say that parliamentary oversight is political interference is sin and crime at the same time. B, it's not just that you have to perform these legislative and questioning functions. Primary and the foremost duty, सबसे अवलीन और सबसे ज़रूरी जिम्मेदारी फ़राइज़ मनसबी में आपके जो नुमाइंदगान हैं, वो उनके अपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट्स के प्रॉब्लम्स को एड्रेस करना. अगर वहाँ पर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है तो दैट इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम. अगर वहाँ पे स्कूल्स नहीं है, दैट इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम. वहाँ पर हेल्थ नहीं है, दैट इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम. अगर किसी की वहाँ पे जॉब्स के इश्यूज हैं तो दैट इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम. So the elected representative has to resolve those issues of the constituents जहाँ से वो elect होते हैं. Or thirdly, to uphold the constitution and the law. If you are just there to protest and violate it, then it means that you are willfully doing it. ये तीन बुनियादी चीजें हैं जो किसी भी parliamentary form की सबसे important चीजें. I hope I have made some sense to you.
I have a question before we thank you.
I'm good. I'm okay.
Before we open the house for audience and our respective participants, I have a question. आपने पार्लियामेंट्री रूल्स के बारे में बड़ी गुफ्तगू की, आपने जो अपना इंडिविजुअल कॉन्डक्ट है उसके बारे में आपने कहा given space to opposition. But in this course and also generally it's a good opportunity, and now I can speak as an academic and also some of the sentiments of the students. Okay, what institutional reforms? So you claim that you are a democratic person, you have been coming to this house at least for the last 24-25 years, and you in your person and in your personal conduct are a very democratic person. But the question that remains and that lots of audience also has in mind, what institutional changes that you have undertaken, or what sort of reforms within this assembly you have undertaken to make this house more representative. What you earlier said, that the opposition should have its say. So there needs to be mechanisms in place, and also more importantly inclusive and open to larger civil societies and other stakeholders of 127 million people of this province. So what are the reforms that you think would reasonably be there and in the long run prove to be beneficial even once you are not here?
Osama sir, thank you very much. Actually, frankly, I would admit this, that I just forgot actually, it just skipped my mind. Otherwise, I would have got it myself. I just remained on a point what the functions of a speaker are. So normally if I say that I have brought these reforms, so that would be like as I am just telling the story that what in person I have done. We have changed 72 rules of this house. And in one change of laws and rules, 72 rules to be changed is just making an altogether new arrangement. Now what we have done, we have actually made it open to the public, accessible for the public. We have introduced the public petitions. We have empowered the standing committees. We have given the standing committees the power to ask the policy of the government, to question the budgetary allocations. We have given the standing committees the right to question the functioning of the government, which was not there before this. We have made these rules at par with the National Assembly and Senate. We have finished that unfinished agenda of 18th Amendment of Constitution of Pakistan after lapse of almost 1.5 decades. Now, 18th Amendment basically devolved into two streams. One stream was constitutional, which was related to these houses, and one was executive. So, federal government and the National Assembly devolved 18 or more different subjects to the provinces. So, we have brought those rules in conformity with the Constitution. We have made a law reforms committee, which was not there prior to this. We have made the caucuses for the marginalized communities in our society, those factions which are not heard properly. In saying that, I would be fairly right to say that the caucus for women, the caucus for minorities, the caucus for the local governments are the ones, those who are not been getting the right attention. We have made these caucuses, they are raising these voices very forcefully. We have rather transformed the whole procedure of the House in which no victimizations could take place. I have seen that these empowered houses and empowered committees actually benefit the public at large. We have made certain changes in our code in which we have made it more accessible to the civil society. We have made a PDU, and that Parliamentary Development Unit is, on one hand, they are actually helping our members in bringing in their business, but there's a lot more to be done. So I'm not claiming that we have done everything right. We are walking into the right direction. And I don't have any personal agenda into this. I am now contributing from my own sources for this parliamentary development. I'm going to establish an endowment fund, and I'm going to train young boys and girls. I'm going to bring them to this house more often. I am sharing a timetable with the universities and alumni in which I am asking them to come here for the parliamentary studies. We are developing our new institute here, which would be imparting that education. We are engaging with the youth. There have been youth councils here. There have been many programs going on. So, as the detailed note of that, Osama Saab and Ahmed would be exactly giving you in black and white that which reforms we have done, which changes we have made, and what betterment it is bringing to the whole system.
So, partly a follow-up question. So, we also discussed in this course that how reforms, and especially reforming your own house, every public functionary, and even personally, it's always easy to point fingers at others. But the most difficult thing in the world is to perhaps reform your own house, and this being your own house. How difficult these reforms have been, and what sort of challenges? If we also, how there's a theory and there's a practice. In practice, what sort of impediments that you have faced in some of these reforms you have mentioned, and what are the strategies, political, legal strategies that have been useful in overcoming some of those challenges?
No, I would just phrase it. मैं अपने बड़े बचपन से सुनता आ रहा हूँ कि ये ऐवान मुक़्तदर हैं. आप सब लोगों ने ये जुमला सुना हुआ? These houses are empowered. They say are supreme. There was a debate whether the Constituent Assembly was supreme or the Assembly today is supreme. There is a debate that whether the Constitution is supreme or the Assembly is supreme. These are debates, and these debates have been there in this political realm since long. For me, it was I thought I'm duty bound that I have to do certain things. I have to bring in political governance to this house. I thought that I'm duty bound that I have to bring the course of parliamentary oversight into this house. I thought that I'm duty bound that I have to bring in the dialogue back. There could be no societies. Today's societies are built upon words. Today you don't annex on the basis of a sword. You just don't keep on going conquering countries. You just utter words. Good words uttered have good consequences. Bad words uttered have always bad consequences. So today's society is based upon words, built upon words. So मेरा मानना है कि आज का मुआशरा अल्फाज पर तश्कील पाता है, और ये जगह अहले हलो अक्द की जगह, यहाँ पर तकरीर होनी है, यहाँ दलील होनी है, यहाँ पर लोगों की जिंदगियों के फैसले किए जाते हैं, यहाँ पर बजट पास होगा. तो कैसे हो सकता है कि जो जगह अहले हलो अक्द की हो, जो 12 करोड़ लोगों की जिंदगी के फैसले करती हो, तो उसको आप रोज इन्हितात पजीर होने दें और आप अपना किरदार अदा ना करें. So I thought I'm duty bound. So I have brought every little semblance of parliamentary supremacy to this house by doing whatever act I have to. I have given up 7 of those powers which were vested in the office of Speaker. Speaker is virtually a demigod. He has so many powers that he can just say no, and that no means an absolute no. So I have devolved it. I have empowered the standing committees. I've shared those powers with the requisite positions that they should be felt empowered and it should be all inclusive. It should be shared position by all of the members and they should be striving for the par excellence parliamentary practices. So this is actually on a larger context I could say. I hope that Osama Saab and Ahmed Iqbal Saab, and I'm glad to see Amjad Javed Saab is one of our very seasoned senior members. He contributes the most into the assembly business. And I also have seen those interns sitting here and the students from your management sciences. And just to give this an outlook of this, that what I'm saying is that we had just 8 weeks and position for 25 interns, which I doubled as 48, and in next year I will ensure that as many applications come in, we accommodate. This year we just had 2,500 applications. So I think this is making it way towards the youth and your interest. I really appreciate that. Osama Saab has been telling me this, that the interest these young boys and girls are taking, you are the future leaders. You have to change it. We have failed it. Honestly speaking, I have been part of this for last 25 years in my practical political life. And sometimes I look back and I think, what have I done? And seriously, there is a question mark on that. And we have invested hopes in our sons and daughters. I have a daughter age same as sitting in front of me. I have 2 sons as you sitting here. And I just keep on asking them one thing. They try to be honest, fair and upright. Thank you very much. So I think I आप कुछ और करना चाह रहे हैं?
इंस्टीट्यूट का बुनियादी मकसद 3 मकासद होते हैं: फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट, लेजिस्लेशन और अकाउंटेबिलिटी। 3 किसी भी ऐसे इंस्टीट्यूट के 3 बुनियादी मकासद हैं। जिस दिन बजट पेश किया जा रहा होता है, जो रूल 133 और भी बड़े वाजे हैं इसके से, उस दिन हम तीनों काम होते हैं। नासिम को इंट्रोड्यूस कर होता है, अकाउंटेबिलिटी बिल को मंजूरी कार्य होती है और फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट बिल होती है। इतना अहम दिन है, तो क्या इतने अहम दिन में ईमान की कार्रवाई रोकना खुद एक क्रिमिनल एक्ट नहीं है?
देखिए, यही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ, लेकिन मैं यही, ये आपने गौर साहब बड़ा अच्छा किया। आप एक बड़ी को नामुश्क इस हाउस को रिपोर्ट करने वाले सालों में से हैं और आपको मैं देखते हुए मुझे कुछ दिहाइयाँ हो गई हैं। यही तो मेरा मुकदमा है, मेरा तो केस ही है। ये तो जो मेरे पास एप्लीकेशंस आई हैं, मैंने जो पल्स मीडिया पे ली, ऑलमोस्ट एवरी सीजन्ड वॉइस in the media has supported my position what I am saying. They have said that he is right. अगर इतराज सिर्फ इस बात पर है कि डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन एक बड़ी एक्सट्रीम बात है, तो मैं सिर्फ ये कह रहा हूं कि डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन का तो भी प्रोसेस ना कहीं पर है, ना किसी ने किया, बट द मोशन हैज स्टार्टेड, द व्हील हैज बीन सेट। और अगर वो प्रिंसिपल जाए जिस प्रिंसिपल के तहत मियां नवाज शरीफ साहब को डिस्क्वालीफाई किया गया, इसी सियासी जमात के 22 अरकान की पूरी सियासी इमारत इसी बुनियाद पे खड़ी है, तो फिर लाजमी तौर पर फैसला डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन का बनता है। लेकिन देयर इज वॉल इन बिटवीन, एंड दैट वॉल इन बिटवीन इज माई सेल्फ।
will now take some questions from students. Imran, Nawaz first. आपको कोई question?
जी please go ahead.
हाँ, इस पे आप click करेंगे.
ये ऑन है, आप करें. It's not speak. बेटा देख ऑन कर, माइक दे. ये आ रहे हैं आपको.
First of all, thank you so much for having us here and for giving us this experience. So my only question was, what remedies are available to a suspended member as a member of the House following that in terms of the autonomy of the Speaker as yourself in the removal of a person from the Assembly, a suspension? Can the judiciary intervene to overrule the decision of the Speaker?
No. The simple plain answer is no. They cannot. But I have done it twice. मैंने पहले भी किया और I suspended them to the maximum. But when they agreed to come and sit in the Committee of Ethics and agreed to be part of the proceedings as the rules desire, I just do that order. So it's not actually the intention to snatch away the right of those constituents who are to be represented. The question is that during that course, once they are here to represent, they are not supposed to snatch away the right of other people's representation. So this is the case. So we have to strike the balance in between.
So thank you, sir. I have a similar question, but it's about so I agree with your judgment more or less, right? It makes sense completely, and I actually do understand every single point. However, in your speech right now, you constantly referred to the Panama cases and your disapproval of Articles 62 and 63. So at the same time, you referred to Article 63 too and how you are sort of using your power and that constitutional right, right? So I just sort of want to understand how do you determine the standard, because you are at one hand saying that this is completely like you don't agree with them, and at the same time you are expressing.
No, very good question. Very good question. Now, actually, there are things which are expressly provided to be done in that manner. There are laws which say that certain acts has to be done in a certain way, and non-doing of those acts in fact entail a certain consequence. Now in this case, my position, I am very vocal about it. That's my political position, and I have been advocating that since last 2 decades. I have been very loud on it. I have been saying that please remove these 62s and 63s out of the Constitution. But as long as they are there and I function as a speaker, and if there is an application which raises the question that any disqualification has occurred, then I have to act, whether I like it or I don't like it. So I have qualified saying that what I am doing is compulsorily mandated upon me. It is expressly provided that I have to do a certain act as it is provided in the law. So basically, though I don't like it, but I have to do this unpleasant job.
Mr. Raza, दूसरा वाला देख.
Thank you so much for the information, sir. I have 2 questions, both are tied. My first question is, क्या आपने बात की है पार्लियामेंट के अंदर अगर आपकी बिहेवियर तो आपका इन्वेस्टिगेट होता है कि वो उसको अप्रूव करे. But you were in the parliament, Punjab Assembly for the last 22 years, according to the information that I have. 2010 साल के दौरान में प्रोजेक्ट आया था, आपको बैठ के स्पीच की उस वक्त भी ऑपोजिशन में जब आप थे तो ऑपोजिशन ने यही कागज पढ़े थे, कॉपियां चाहिए. My question is, where I understand that आपको अभी यही रहा होगा पाकिस्तान में, what were your actions as part of the opposition when you are party member? And they also deserve to be represented by the parliament of Ghazi. If they are disqualified, this is basically the same as what happened with the PML in 2018 and 2017. How is it any different? How would your decision be any different from the Panama Delta?
Now, I'll take your first question first. I am solely responsible, and I'm saying it on media, I'm solely responsible for convincing my parliamentary party that don't breach the convention of leader of the House's speech to be heard uninterrupted. I made sure that it happens. I ensured that our people don't get beyond this point where Madam is sitting. This is opposition. And if you have to tear the paper books, do tear it, but throw it. But I am against it. Don't do it. I said, go back to your seats, listen to the finance minister what he says, and then rebut his speech. Then bakiye udher दें, फिर उसके बजट का पोस्टमार्टम करें, फिर वहां पर दलील से बात करें, फिर बताएं कि अगर ये कहते हैं कि हम इन मुबाजात पर पैसा खर्च करने जा रहे हैं, मैं कहां सुकम, फिर आप बताएं कि इनकी इस पॉलिसी से अवाम उन्नास को फायदा नहीं होगा. प्लीज आप अपना सील एज ओरेटर, एज पार्लियामेंटेरियन, एज member of the assembly, as somebody connected to the people, do your right of representation. I have been advocating this. You might see a office in which I have approached the desk of the speaker, a member of opposition. That is viral on the media. That is viral on the social media. My political और वही हुआ क्योंकि स्पीकर में मुखालिफ नहीं कह सकता, तो मेरे चाहने वाले उस बड़ी तवातर चला रहे हैं. तो मैंने उसी साउंड बाइट को लगवाया. मैंने निकाय जिसमें मैं स्पीकर साहब के पास जाता हूँ और उनसे जाकर ये कहता हूँ, जनाब ये नतीजा आप ऐलान करें हैं, हमारे पोलिंग एजेंट्स के साइंस और मौजूदगी के अंदर किया जाए तो मुनासिब है. और फिर पार्टी को इशारा करता हूँ कि पीछे बैठ जाएं, चाहे गलत नतीजा ऐलान करें तो आप यरगमाल मत करें. I say that. And I am solely responsible. I was a voice in my party, so many others after that, in which we convinced our the opposition, if you start speaking, then you have to speak for hours and you have to speak relevant. I sat to prepare a speech, my opposition speech for 3 weeks, gave a rebuttal on every single page of it. Once, 5 times. I have been on the opposition benches and I can share that it's not about me. I mean the members of this house. So, first question, I say that I've been trying and I've been doing every bit and inch to do what you have said. But now I have a position where I can. First, I was advocating. I'm doing it. And I'm doing it. A, B. And your second question was that how it is different from Panama. I won't allow anyone to forget the past very conveniently. This is with me. I have been many times I've been told that do two wrong, don't make a right. Yes, I agree, it's poor. I agree. But how conveniently you take somebody, dump, put them on mat, and then you say that I don't even talk of it. No, sir, this will not, this is politics. It will keep haunting you. They say a political note and it is only the head, nobody else does it. So the head has to be buried by someone. If he buries, then there are questions. So those questions need to be addressed. I have seen the dignity be voiced. I have seen casing professed. I have seen resources being spent to demolish a political leader. I have seen the court criticized. I have seen these being ridiculed. So I have a way to say it. So today I am in a position to say it, but I want to do such thing. Will be on my democrat. Mike, your phone is question. The first, I'll take the first part. Leader of the opposition, thing which you just question raised on a point of order, and he said, "This is my political right," and I said, "All right. Who is your political right?" He said, "Constitution, obviously." I said, "Go through the Constitution, walk through it," and I take him the preamble on paragraph there, and I say that for political right, the Constitution's preamble says it is subject to reasonable restriction of law, and I am not saying it. Law of the Assembly and proceed rules which have constitutional sanctity. These are the only rules are legal jurisdiction which are called constitutions. ये reasonable restriction है, ये इन्होंने determine करना है. So there is a reasonable restriction. I am against the right to protest. I am against their willful obstruction. So there is a difference between a protest. It is a very sacred word. I actually live it. I am the one who solely arranges the masses into hundreds of thousands. I am a man of public. I sit at my place with an open door. I address to the problems not just my constituents only, the people come from the whole of the Punjab. They don't have to tell me. And I don't care what the officer of democracy or anybody says. The only thing that matters to me is that somebody has approached me is amongst the masses. I arrange the masses into hundreds of thousands single-handedly. I have proven that. On one hand side, the whole political party makes an arrangement of gathering 30, 40, 50,000. And in small town where I am, where I make hundreds and thousands of people come out on street. I get this right of political voice protest, but I cannot equate it with full obstructions of running of these. So I said that there is a second provision in the Constitution, that Article 19, and I say which clearly says that your decision is bound by a reasonable restriction, and that restriction I am not imposing as a speaker. That is the rule. So I have put this decision. And if there is other is asked, and it is being asked very frequently, they were members. I said that and they reacted what the behavior of the opposition was. Just one event. If they would have been doing it willfully, they would have been this procedure on design, premeditated, on an that the business house should not work. I will do the same. So I cautioned them. I cautioned them in a ruling. And this is what the first time. Secondly, being partisan could be seen from the records. I take this very close to my heart. One I feel obliged to answer in the same sense of the word as it is questioned. And I would instruct my chambers, Assembly, PD, that they should be details that how I am with the opposition since years of my current in this office. 15 months, sorry. I have given a few broader outlines, but this on the level at the floor, on the level at the second, I have made them feel exactly very important. I view the opposition. I think this is an essential policy. And today, if there is anything in between, 63 whose disqualification with 52 members in the National Assembly, is standing in between. Otherwise, it's damn thing.
Last day presentation from Bulletin. We are very lucky because Arif was directly.
So when I should from Goonj and every day stand up speak, mic on करेंगे. वो दे दें. Apologize for this sound system. We are very old system brought in. We don't want to change the color of the mics. They're old. We're just trying to get it. May I know your name? Your name, please. Gulami, I'm really glad that you have asked such an important question. Please be seated. I have a story, and I'll substantiate the story with somebody whom for the first time I met on your campus. I was not known to these areas actually. It was not my subject. I was hardly interested that how judges get appointed, how they are removed, and this question of Supreme Court and how these judicial commissions work. I was hardly interested. But somehow I was acquainted with Justice Fazil Karim sir. So he introduced me to a new thought process. Me a book that change is only constant. And the minute I started reading that book, every page I turned, it cleared my concept in abundance. And then I became an advocate of that. And then I professed it. And then I went to different committees. As a member of JCP, I raised my concerns. Then I became a law minister for a period. Raised my concerns, and then I questioned the premise that why you are spineless, why don't you do the right things right? Now, based upon that, whenever I have brought it into any discussion, I've never had any answer to that, and here is the story. I'll share it with you. Now, as I earlier said, there's a judgment called basic structure. Prior to that, in all the parliamentaries or elected or Congress or representative boards of government, may it be United States, may it be United Kingdom, may it be South Africa, may it be any Commonwealth. I have been to Australia, studied their model of appointment of justice. Whatever this trichotomy of power is, it is overlapping, as I said. ministerial responsibility vis-a-vis to the House executive. It has an overlapping function. Appointment of the judges was considered to be a function performed in certain jurisdictions by the executive, and in certain, those appointments are made collectively by the parliamentary and executive function. So what happened in Pakistan, that judgment was passed by the name of basic structure, in which they decided that they will appoint themselves, they will remove themselves. It is basic structure. They basically forgot that the functionality is the question of it. If I get elected, do I elect myself? I just vote for myself and I get elected. There is a third party, public, electorate, which elects me. So it has to be different. The one who gives the birth, who originates you, it has to be somebody who is considered to be in a position to appoint you, give you the birth, create you. A creation of a vote. Judges are not able to get from the public. So there is to be somebody who is chosen representative of this country. The preamble of the Constitution says the executive power will be exercised by the chosen representatives. So I can link it very clearly. So appointment of judges was a function which was a time in which we removed the executive, they the decisions on shifting judges, on appointing judges. So there has to be some rationale to this, how these appointments could be made. This idea was adopted. So what Parliament has done today, the 26th Amendment, it is putting the course into that appointment capacity, capacity. Now, if I say these judicial to interfere in functioning of the judges, that would be wrong. That would be interfering with the purposes of the judiciary. I would suggest, and I would basically say, what I said, the focus was upon the Constitution. It was in 73 Constitution. It was clearly written. So if we brought it back to the original 1960 Constitution, brought up that which was inserted by the legal framework order and by different amendments, and we decided at the 18th Amendment we will bring it back to the form of the 1970 Constitution, then why have you missed the part of the wisdom of the constituencies? Decided it will be our constitution, that member house will be elected, there will be one vote. They decide that it should be done in this way. This amendment has corrected the code, corrected the amendment that was a question of. So what has been happening with these with appointments of judges? Like you won't get a place. Even if you are a graduate from this most prestigious institute, you can't even walk near it. What are the decisions which these institutes have given? Dale to jayenge. What is it? So if the judgment of speak, what we are saying that the people of these houses, whatsoever charge upon these houses could be, how big it is, the end of where you people still have. So this is what I say. Oh, also I would love to acting here, but at least more than 3-4 and it will be precise. कोशिश करूंगा जवाब. अगर आप चाहते हैं कि मैं और रुकूं तो लोगों को बहुत आप बड़े में न करें तो जो इसको जो sorry, yes. ये हुल्लड़बाजी, ये रोग हैवानों की जो चाहिए वो हो जाएगी, ये जो पब्लिक हक के नुमाइंदगी को सही वो इसको रोकेंगी सियासत स्पीकर तो कर सकता है पॉलिटिकल फैसले उसमें हार्शनेस आ अगर रोल अदा और इनको सिर्फ तस्वर न यहाँ पर फैसले होने एलोकेशंस होने यहाँ पर लॉ बनने मेंटेन करने के लिए डायरेक्ट फिर बेहतर देखिए तो then it has to be implemented and inspected. And if I do, or if the script does, then it will be very, then we will be suppressing so many ways. To ask the speaker to give me the floor, there are people sitting in you, and at 40 people raising hands or putting up the button for the light. So here, who should get it? And one would be always like, these sounds don't mind. If you protest, say that this bill, taxation bill, I don't agree with it, and I tear it off. This is very do it. But if you start attacking, if you start doing it willfully, obstructing it, if you don't listen, you see when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Shaheed went to the United Nations, he sat there on benches, he made those historical words that we will fight for every inch of it, and I don't agree with this. He gets it and gets up. What would be more inviting to watch at? This was a very parliament that anything wrong about it. There's a difference. If I take the book view and I start reading it, that shall observe. It is not me. It is not for the speaker to maintain that order first before me. It is for the member. He is bound by these rules. Obligation to act in accordance. He has to obey these rules. He has to act as these rules demand. Before speaking, he should ask the permission. And asking that permission, there is a shout and a ho-ha. It is, don't mind it. have to speech of Mr. Ali Javid. He has to observe that. He is under obligation. And if he is guilty, then